Cleaning the last of the tables, you looked around, satisfied with the empty and spotless cafe. It was quiet now, the chairs neatly arranged, and the scent of fresh coffee lingering in the air. You picked up your bag, ready to head out after a long day, and gave a small smile to the owner. Goodbye, Mr. Kim, you said politely, nodding as you turned to leave. Wait a second, Ryan. He called out, stopping you. You turned surprised as he handed you an envelope. Here's your payment for the week. You have been working hard. Take care of yourself, alright? A warm and bright smile appeared on your face. Thank you, you murmured, touched by his kindness. You slipped the envelope into your bag, feeling the weight of his small gesture. You waved him goodbye and left the cafe. As you walked down the quiet alley, the evening air felt cool against your skin. The sound of distant traffic filled the background, but soon something sharp cut through it, a low grunt followed by muffled voices of men. You turn a corner, spotting a man, maybe in his mid-50s, pressed against the wall by a group of three rough-looking men. He looked frightened, his face pale and his hands clutched his coat tightly. Please let me go. I don't have anything else to give you, the man said. His voice trembled as he was alone in the group of those hungry lions. A rush of anger surged through you. You knew it wasn't smart to get involved, but something in you refused to ignore what was happening. You took a steady breath, setting your bag down quietly behind you. Hey, why are you troubling that man? You called out, your voice was steady and sharp. The men turned, surprised, flickering across their faces as they took in the sight of you. A girl alone. They laughed, clearly not taking you seriously. Walk away, sweetheart. This isn't your business. One of them said, stepping forward, ignoring the threat. You stepped closer, your eyes cold. Without warning, you launched forward, catching him off guard with a quick, strong punch. He stumbled back, clutching his nose as blood began to drip. The other two lunged at you, but you dodged their attack swiftly, your movements precise and powerful. You tugged, delivering a sharp kick to one man's knee, sending him crashing down. The last one hesitated, realizing too late that he had underestimated you. Before he could react, you twisted his arm back, forcing him to the ground. The three men scrambled away, muttering curses as they disappeared down the alley. Turning, you approached the older man, who was still pressed against the wall, watching you with wide eyes. Are you alright, sir? You asked. Your voice was gentle now, reaching out a hand to help him. He took it gratefully, still in shock. Thank you. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't come along, he said, his voice filled with relief and gratitude. You gave him a reassuring smile. Just be careful next time, you said, picking up your bag and glancing around one last time to make sure the men were gone. But as you turned to leave, the man stopped you. Young lady, please, may I know your name? You paused, looking back at him. It's Ryan. You replied simply. He nodded as if committing it to memory, an unreadable look in his eyes. Thank you, Ryan. You are stronger than you look. You just smiled before walking away. That man kept looking in the direction until you disappeared. He seemed to be so impressed with you, smiling. He took out his phone and dialed a number. Hello. You came back home after a long day of work. Umma, you paused when you saw your stepmother, which is not less than a real mother to you. She looked dressed as if going out. Umma, are you going somewhere? She grabbed her purse as she looked at you, finally noticing that you were back. She came near. Thank God you came back. I'm going to see your father. You got worried hearing that. What happened? Is everything okay? I didn't get any call from the hospital. You panicked while your mother calmed you. Calm down, nothing happened to him. I'm just going to see him. I had a bad dream and she sighed. You exhaled deeply, feeling relieved, and held her shoulders. Okay. Oh, wait. You reached out to your bag before taking out the envelope of your payment from your bag before handing it to your mother. I got the payment early this time, deposited in the hospital. She looked at the money and then at you. Her eyes filled up. I'm sorry, honey. Because of us, you have to live this life. Oh, Ma, what are you saying? You said, hugging her. I'm your daughter. I want my dad to get well soon as possible. I'm doing this for us, this family. Yes, and you are the best daughter in the world, but we didn't become the best parents. Instead, we are making your life harder. Uma, please stop saying that. You said, breaking the hug while she wiped her tears. Okay, fine, now I'll go. I'll come in the morning. You nodded, kissing her forehead before bidding her goodbye. She may not have given birth to you, but she's your mother since you were 5. She never treated you less than her own child. In fact, she didn't give birth just because she accepted you as her own daughter. Closing the door, you walked inside the living room before dropping yourself on the couch. You were tired, wanting to sleep but can't. All the weight of your family, your father who is in coma for months, his hospital bills, you are taking care of everything but you. 1 week later. You were in the kitchen making coffee for yourself and your mother when you noticed a luxurious car pulling in front of your house. A man in a suit came out. It didn't take you much time to recognize him. It was the same man you helped that night. You wondered how he found your house and what is he doing here. You quickly ran in the living room. Your mother already welcomed him, and you were surprised that she looked just fine, as if not meeting him for the first time. They both looked at you as you walked inside. Ryan, he's Mr. John, a very rich and famous businessman. It's nice to meet you again, Ryan. You tried to force a smile. Hello, did you come here following me? You were nervous and curious, so you asked that right away. That made him smile a little. Your mother came near you. Ryan, Mr. John told me that you saved his life and he wants to thank you for that. You looked at Mr. John. Well, that was not that big of a deal. Mr. John got up. He was highly impressed with your dignity and confidence. Perhaps not for you, but to me, it was a very big deal. You didn't hesitate to help a stranger when I was in trouble, and that says a lot about your character, and I would like to thank you for that. He reached out holding a sleek suitcase in front of you. You glanced at the suitcase, then back at him. If this is money, please keep it or donate it to someone in need. I didn't help you for a reward. I just did what any decent person would do. Mr. John looked at you, visibly impressed by your integrity. You are remarkable, Ryan. In a world where people would go to great lengths for money or favors, you have dignity and compassion. I can see that you aren't swayed by wealth, and that's exactly why I'm here today. His words left you confused. I didn't understand. Did you come here for something? After a short pause, he nodded. Yes, I'm here because I have a proposal for you. I would like you to consider becoming my son's wife. You froze, feeling a rush of shock. Excuse me? The words left your mouth before you could stop them. Your tone caught somewhere between disbelief and outrage. He exchanged a glance with your mother. Ryan, Mr. John is offering you a better life. Imagine how easy your life would be when you marry into that house. You looked at her in disbelief, not expecting her to say that. Mom, are you serious? Did you know about this already? It's for your good, Ryan. Mom, stop. You turned to Mr. John angrily. I helped you that night because I thought you were a decent man, but it's clear now, behind that respectable face lies a cruel, controlling man. Mr. John raised his hand as if to calm you. His tone softened. Listen to me, my child. I know this sounds harsh and perhaps my approach wasn't right, but I saw something in you that is rare. Strength, resilience, qualities that my son needs in his life. Before he could say more, you interrupted, voice sharp and unwavering. Whether it's your son or even you, hear this clearly. Don't ever come here again. At that moment, your stepmother stepped closer, desperation etched across her face. Wine, don't say that. Mr. John is an honorable man. He has promised to cover all of your father's medical expenses. Think about it. You turned to her in disbelief, feeling a wave of betrayal. How could you even consider this, Uma? I'm working, I'm saving money for my dad's treatment. We don't need anyone else's charity. Mr. John took a deep breath. Wine, with my resources, your father's treatment could happen much faster. You wouldn't have to struggle. But you cut him off, glaring at him with fierce anger. Who are you to care about my father's health? Are you some kind of merchant, bartering money for a life? Trying to buy a toy for your son in exchange for some bills? Wine, your stepmother reached out, but you pulled away, stepping closer to Mr. John as your voice trembled with both rage and pride. Maybe we don't live with all your luxury and wealth, but we live with dignity. We may not have much, but we have our freedom. And I'll be damned if I let you buy me like some possession. So take your money and leave us alone. Wine, it's a request. I'm begging you for help. Please listen to me this once. Jungkook stormed into his father's study, eyes blazing with anger as he tossed a newspaper onto the table. Headlines screamed about his supposed engagement, and a carefully staged photo of you was splashed across the page. Mr. John looked up calmly from his seat, unfazed by his son's rage. What nonsense! What marriage? What is this, Dad? How could you make such a decision without even asking me? Mr. John leaned back, folding his hands with a steady gaze. I was going to speak to you, but I wanted you to see the announcement first. Jungkook scoffed. His tone was filled with disbelief. So you think you can just pick someone for me like this? Decide my future because it's convenient? Mr. John's eyes softened slightly. It's not just a decision, Jungkook. It's a chance to bring someone into your life who could be good for you. Jungkook let out a bitter laugh. Good for me. You barely know her, and neither do I. You know I don't believe in this whole love nonsense. I've told you before, I'm fine on my own. Are you though? Look around you, Jungkook. You're wealthy, successful, yet you keep everyone at arm's length. I see the isolation eating at you. I'm offering you someone who might understand you, who has the strength to stand beside you. Jungkook took a step back, shaking his head. So that's what this is? You think some stranger can just walk into my life and fix me? Mr. John sighed. She's not just anyone. I chose her because she has a strength and kindness that you need in your life. Jungkook's jaw clenched, his shoulders tensed. I don't need anyone, especially not someone handpicked by you. Whatever you think she is, she doesn't know me, and I doubt she would want to if she did. Mr. John got up from his chair. I have watched you suffer long enough, Jungkook. You deserve happiness, but I know you would never allow it on your own. So yes, I'm intervening. All I ask is that you give her a chance, not for me but for yourself. Jungkook stared at his father, anger still shimmering in his eyes but laced with a hint of uncertainty. And if I refuse? Mr. John's expression softened. You are free to make your own choices, son. But know that this arrangement is my way of giving you something meaningful. I wouldn't go through this trouble if I didn't believe it could make a difference. Once you'll meet her, you'll know why I'm insisting so much. Jungkook left from there in anger while his father sighed and sat down. He remembered his talk with you. Only he knows how he convinced you, and after knowing the whole story, you agreed to help him, marrying his son for 6 months just to give this a try. But you both decided to hide this from Jungkook. Jungkook struggles with depression or severe anxiety triggered by years of high expectations and an absence of love and affirmation in his family. While he appears successful and composed on the outside, he is wrestling with an inner darkness that has left him exhausted and without hope. Mr. John is afraid his son's mental health will continue to decline without someone who can break through his walls and understand the deeper issue he faces. Your resilience and empathy make you the perfect match to support him, as Mr. John believes only someone truly strong and caring can handle Jungkook's challenges. You arrived at the John mansion, escorted by Mr. John, who insisted you to meet Jungkook formally. You were tensed but composed, determined not to let anything or anyone intimidate you. As you walked through the grand hallway, you could feel the weight of the situation settle on your shoulders. The doors opened to reveal Jungkook standing by the window, arms crossed, his expression dark and closed off. He looked over his shoulder when he heard you and his father enter. His gaze cold, he turned fully to face you, his eyes trailing over you with something that felt like disdain. So this is the girl my father picked for me. He let out a mocking laugh. His voice was icy. Did he tell you what a favor he's doing you by bringing you here? You met his gaze without flinching, your chin held high. No one's doing me a favor. I came here because your father asked me to meet you, not because I owe anyone anything. Jungkook narrowed his eyes, taking a step closer. I don't know what you think you're getting out of this, but let me make one thing clear. I don't want you here. I don't want anything to do with you. You held his gaze unwavering. Believe me, I don't need to be here either. I agree to meet you out of respect for your father, but I have no intention of sticking around if I'm not welcome. His lips twisted into a smirk as if amused by your confidence. Respect for my father? Don't pretend like you're doing this out of some noble reason. I know exactly the type you are, thinking you can swoop in and fix people or maybe make yourself comfortable in someone else's world. You felt your fist clench, but you kept your voice steady. You don't know anything about me, Jungkook. Don't make the mistake of assuming you do. Then let me guess. He sneered, crossing his arms. You think I'm some tragic broken man in need of saving? That you're going to be the one to fix me. You stepped forward, meeting him eye to eye. No, I think you are a man who's clearly had too many people leave him or disappoint him, and now you think that justifies treating everyone like they don't matter. But I won't be pushed around, so if you don't want me, I'll leave. Jungkook's jaw clenched, clearly not expecting you to hold your ground. His father's voice broke the tense silence, calm yet firm. Jungkook, this isn't about pushing anyone away. I thought you would at least be open to meeting her, understand who she is. But Jungkook's gaze was still fixed on you, his eyes cold and unyielding. Fine, I've met her, now she can leave, he said flatly, turning away while you took a steadying breath, holding on to the last of your patience. I don't need your approval, Jungkook. If I stay, it will be because I choose to, not because you have to say in it. With that, you turned on your heel, heading towards the door without a second glance. But before you left, you paused, throwing one last look over your shoulder. Don't worry, I'm not here to fix you. That's your job. Saying that, you left, leaving him standing in silence. Mr. John looked at him. Do whatever to make up with her, because you'll get all this wealth and position only if you marry her and treat her well. Saying that, he also left, leaving Jungkook standing. He threw a vase on the floor in anger. He couldn't do anything about this because he wants this position and wealth, but he's afraid that breaking his walls might put him into the same situation as his father when his mother left them. Mr. John rushed outside as he saw you walking away. He called your name, Ryan. He ran to you. You stopped but didn't look back, waiting for him to come. Ryan, don't take his words seriously. He's complicated, I told you. There would be challenges. Your son is rude. He didn't listen to you. Then how you expected that I can do anything? Mr. John sighed heavily. Regret was clear in his eyes. I know it was a lot to ask, but I still believe there's something good in him, something worth fighting for. He has built so many walls, but I know you have the strength to reach him, Ryan. Please give it some time. 6 months, just 6 months. If there's no progress, if it is still unbearable, I'll let you go. But I can't give up on him. There was plead in his voice. You looked at him feeling a mix of emotions. It was clear how much Mr. John cared about his son, and he was desperate for someone to help. You took a deep breath, trying to think of the right words. Mr. John, I don't know if I can make any difference, but I know how it's like to worry about someone you love. So, for 6 months, I'll try. That's all I can promise. He nodded, looking relieved. Thank you, Ryan. I'll never forget this, and please remember, I'll be here to support you. You gave him a small nod, though inside you felt unsure. You weren't doing this just because he asked. Only a week ago, your life had been turned upside down, and he had been the only one there to help. Your father had a stroke, and the doctor said he needed surgery right away to survive. With him in a coma and no money for the operation, you felt completely helpless, afraid of losing him. That's when Mr. John stepped in, offering his help. When no one else would, you knew you couldn't refuse him now. You didn't give an answer out loud, but your silence told him enough. Mr. John could see that you would give it a try, even if it wouldn't be easy. As he watched you head back to the house, he quietly said, "Thank you for giving my son a chance." The next day you came in the John mansion because his father wanted to talk about something. He asked if you could live here for that time. Though you told him yes, you also told him that you will be doing your job by side and also visiting your family every day, to which he agreed without any condition. You were walking through the hallway of the John mansion trying to find your way to the kitchen when you bumped into him. Jungkook stood there leaning against the wall, his arms crossed, eyes fixed on you with that same cold expression. "So you're still here. I thought you would run away by now." You raised an eyebrow, your tone calm but sharp. "And why would I leave? It's not like I'm afraid of you." He scoffed, pushing himself off the wall. His posture was stiff. "I'm sure you think you are tough, but don't fool yourself. This is a favor to my father, not me." You didn't flinch. "I don't need favors from anyone. I'm doing this because I promised your father I would try. But don't mistake that for weakness." Jungkook took a step closer, his voice lower now, as if trying to test you. "You really think you can handle me? You know nothing about me. You'll regret your decision." You met his gaze, unwavering. "I'm not here to fix you, Jungkook. I'm not some therapist or charity case. But if you keep treating people like they're beneath you, don't be surprised when you're alone." His eyes flashed with something. Was it anger or just a hint of sadness? He quickly masked it, but you caught it, that vulnerability he worked so hard to hide. "You're different from the others. Most people just bow down, but not you. You didn't back down. I'm not like the others, and I'm not going to play your games. But if you need me, I'll be here. Just don't mistake kindness for weakness." Jungkook's expression softened just for a moment, and that small shift was enough to break something inside him. He looked at you, really looked at you for the first time. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for any of it." You nodded slowly. "No one ever asks for the hard things, Jungkook, but you don't have to face them alone." There was a long silence between you two. Neither of you spoke, but in that moment something unspoken shifted. You had won that small battle, the one where you didn't back down but also didn't give in to his anger, and for the first time Jungkook seemed unsure of how to respond. His walls starting to crack just a little.